This one came from Janet, who's a COO, and she writes, "Dearest Tony," I already love Janet. "Dearest Tony, I'm not getting interviews and I can't figure out what the problem is. I was laid off in January of, I guess it's this year, so it's not that long ago. In addition to the usual concerns like how quickly will I find my new job and how will I pay the mortgage, I was worried about gaps in my resume." And I'm going to summarize here Janet's note to me and say that she had a, quote, Grand Canyon sized gaping hole on her CV. She had left her career to raise her children. And she says she's given employers the impression she's taking more breaks than an aging rock band. I love that. So, so the question is, has anyone got any advice for Janet? Marsha, let's continue with you. Does everything you've ever done ever have to be on your resume? Let's start there.
No, because we usually suggest you don't want to go back more than 10 years. And then you just do and if you want to put additional information, just put other professional engagements and then just list them. But, think about your resume. It's not written for the purpose of your mother. Your resume is written for the purpose of getting a job. And a lot of people, you want to talk about everything you've ever done. You don't want your resume to be like that. You want your resume to be like a soap opera. So people read a little bit and it's so exciting, they tune in for the next piece and the next piece. So your resume should be an engaging read. And a lot of resumes, because we do resume reviews, and I'll look at a resume and I'm going to think, oh my God, this is going to be the most boring hour I'm ever going to spend. This resume, this person looks so boring. And you get on the phone and they're lively, great personality and all of that. And I'm saying, where's the disconnect? This is not the person I'm reading about. So you want to make sure that resume comes alive. If you're vivacious or whatever, you want a vivacious resume. You want a resume that tells your story in a resume fashion. And those are the kinds of resumes that get attention. One recruiter told me, I don't remember every place this person's ever worked, but I sure do remember their story and how well their resume engaged me when I was reading it. So to me, that's key. Some people just push stuff out there and it's boring when you are not a boring person. So you've got to make sure that your resume tells the story of who you really are. It's huge. It's a sales document. It's a brochure. It's your calling card. So that's what I say about resumes. And also make sure that there are no typographical errors. I looked at one resume and it said education 1880 to 1984. I thought that person's been in school a long time. Should have said 1980.
They must know a lot of things.
Yeah, but guess what? I remembered that person, but for all the wrong reasons.
All right, let's take that last. Thank you for that. That's really memorable. So, main do's and don'ts of the resume. I heard typos. I understand that. Jade, let's turn to you, then we'll go back to Don. What are some of the main do's and don'ts? You've seen so many resumes, probably all of it. In no particular order, what should people avoid doing and ideally do more of?
The biggest thing that I do see is putting your resume in a your responsibilities. What are the job responsibilities formats? The document really isn't about you. The document is about the challenges you overcame and what you accomplished in the midst of those challenges. So putting what your accomplishments are. So putting things like in charge of day-to-day activities, in charge of reports, filings, these sort of things. No one cares, quite frankly. You're there in a leadership position, so what did you accomplish as a leader? What were the results that you formed? And capture their attention in, you have to think of it, these are busy people. Doesn't matter what time, decade you're at, they're busy. They're not going to read line by line. So putting things, just arranging it in a format where they see your results as quickly as possible. And that's what's going to position you as a top candidate, someone who gets results, who overcomes challenges, and has a value proposition. That's the biggest thing I see is people position themselves really as middle managers, and they don't brand their value, they don't brand who they are, they don't brand what they bring to the table or what differentiates them. It's job description, job description. I've got results, I've proven record, I'm experienced, but there's no results. There's no metrics. There's no value. It's just a lot. It's very dense. It's very wordy, and it's not uncommon that I get a resume upward of 3+ pages. And when I see that, I think, dear God, this poor person, he's never going to have his resume read. And I look through it, and it's very dense, it's very monotonous, it's very wordy. There's typographical errors, as Marsha was saying. So really comb through it because it looks unprofessional if you have those errors. If it's 3 to 5 pages, truncate it down. Anything 10 or anything past 2,000. And if you're just describing your job description and day-to-day activities, you're not going to get positioned as a top candidate. So those are some of the most common things I've seen, and not branding your value proposition. And unfortunately, most people, we can solve everyone else's problems, including world peace, but we cannot solve our own. That's the same exact reason why you have no idea what your value proposition is, or else they would be on the resume. And if you think you can do it, you would have done it by now. And it's a little harsh, but it's the truth. So those are the main things I see. It's very competitive. So brand your value. And if you don't know what it is, we can help you.
So Don, I'm getting chats from people about things like keywords and ATSs. Let's talk about those, but also let's come back to Janet's problem, which was a large gap in her resume. Talk to me about Janet's problem and other things that are in the do and don't category.
So again, I'll give you this through a recruiter's perspective.
Mhm.
When there are gaps in the resume, the recruiter, the reader, will fill those gaps in. And it usually is to your disadvantage. So if you were home raising your children, say it. Fill in the gap. Anyone who wouldn't understand that you took X number of years or months off to raise your family isn't somebody you want to work for anyway. So eliminate gaps. If you're currently unemployed, figure out a way of not having that jump off the page. Think of things you could do to fill that in. Volunteer work, taking a course, go to somebody you know extremely well and say to them, listen, I'm willing to do some work for your company for nothing if you'll allow me to list your company as my current employer. No one asks you, well, what were you earning in that job? Oh, I wasn't earning anything. But at least it's a way of filling in the gap. So gaps hurt. Regarding resumes, both Marsha and Jade, I think, have given you some really good suggestions. I'd put it like this. You get somewhere in the neighborhood of 6.5 seconds from all research that's been done when someone looks at your resume. So you need to be able to capture their attention quickly. What do most readers of resumes look for? They look for numbers. They look for your business impact. They look for things that you contributed to your past employers. They want to see measurable results. Most resumes lack that either in their entirety, or the focus, as Jade said, is more on what you did than what you accomplished. And you need an executive summary at the top of your document. And what does that need to include? A compelling value proposition, 4 or 5 accomplishments with metrics, and 20+ keywords. In many ways, keywords are the most critical area to being found. It's like any other keyword optimization if you are marketing an online product, and you're marketing an online product, Most people don't know what keywords to use, and they don't know how to place them, where to place them, and then how to separate them in order for the resume to be most findable when you're going through an applicant tracking system. So it's knowing what the keywords are, having 20 plus of them, putting them in the right place, and making sure they're separated by bars with a space on either side. And don't put in phrases or sentences. That's not a keyword. A keyword is a keyword or a word or two. And most people don't know how to do that well.